Good morning, everyone, and a happy St. Patrick's Day to all of our colleagues and friends. I want to go over with you a little bit of information that I think will make next week the events we have scheduled go fairly smooth. It's important that as you read this, if you're a dues-paying member, that hopefully you take notes, hopefully you use the weekend to gather some of these documents so that you can gain entry into our general meeting, as well as be able to vote next week on the proposed contract. Number one, Tuesday, March 21st, there is going to be a general membership meeting at John F. Kennedy High School. We've already sent out that memo and flyer. You probably already have that in your calendar or diary. That meeting starts at 4:30 p.m. This is for dues-paying members only. So let's talk a little bit about how someone can gain access to that meeting. Well, let's start with the easy part. You must be a member. So if you're on the fence about whether you want to join, if you've never joined, unfortunately, they're going to be stopped at the door and they will not be permitted access to our meeting. For folks who are members, you will need 2 items to gain access. So we anticipate there being a rapid entry, right? So the rapid entry will be for the folks who can show us really quick their school ID, right? The one that we wear around our necks. I forgot mine today, but their school ID, as well as their NJEA card. Now, that's going to be able to show that the NJEA recognizes you in their system as a member, will match the picture with the person on the school ID, and we're hoping that line moves fairly quick. Then there is the other group of folks. These are the folks that have lost or claim to have never received their NJEA card. And I believe that there probably are some errors in the NJEA system which would have potentially not made the card arrive to your house, if at all. So let's talk about that. If Sally Smith doesn't have her NJEA card, but she has a school ID on the day of, this is what I recommend. I recommend that you bring as well a check stub with you. So you take your check stub that shows you had dues coming out on March 15th, along with your school ID, and we're going to have a separate line for those folks so that they can be looked up manually in our computer database to ensure that they are who they claim to be. That's going to be a slow and a tedious line, and it's probably going to take a very long time. So if you would not like that to be the case, please bring the NJEA card that you either have in your wallet or your purse, along with a check stub and your school ID, right? I think if you bring all 3, it probably makes it go even quicker in case there's a problem. So if I were you, I would have all 3, even though we're only asking for your NJEA card and your school ID. If you have all 3, you're going to make life simple in case there is a problem at the door. For those that are wondering why we do that, membership has its privileges. If there shouldn't be anyone in this meeting who's a non-member. There should not be, and that's just the rules of all unions, not just the PEA. This is the rule of the NJEA. If you want to go to their delegate assembly meeting once a month, you have to be a member. Whether you're there to speak or just to listen, you have to be a member. So now the voting is going to take place, well, before we get there. So Tuesday is a general meeting. Let's move to Wednesday. This is March the 22nd. This is a very important delegate assembly meeting. So if you are a duly elected delegate of the PEA, when you attend that meeting at Leneve's in person, it's not on the computer. This is an in-person meeting, and you're going to hear about why next. At that meeting, it's going to be pretty short. You're going to receive 2 things. You're going to receive, first, training from the election committee on how to conduct an election in your school building. This election will be for the proposed contract that was sent to the membership and that we talked about at our first general meeting on the computer. So delegates, if you're not there, you're really not being trained. I don't know how you can conduct an election if you don't know the rules and how to do it. So that is very important. Now, if all delegates can't be there, which they should be, they're delegates, and we're hoping that they can, then please send someone who is a delegate because we are only giving the ballot boxes that night at the meeting to delegates. So delegates in attendance for their buildings will be going home with the ballot box that they will bring to school the very next day, which is Thursday. Let's move on to Thursday. Thursday, there will be a meeting. I'm sorry, not a meeting. There will be a ratification vote in all schools and work sites. Now, let's talk about a problem that we have. And for many of you, you know that I was driving around last week, if you saw me in your buildings, dropping off things that were not picked up here and that were time sensitive. Those letters, those one-page documents, right? I probably drove around to 20 to 25 schools because that's how many were left here, and I could not allow folks to vote on a contract until we got it into every building. So there are repeat buildings and work sites that seem to leave things here periodically. Now, it's not always all the 25 that I drove around. In some cases, I was just a little eager, I should say, to get that out. But if you don't have a delegate at the meeting on Wednesday night, is someone going to come here Thursday morning to pick it up? I think not. We have other things going on here at the office. There may not be someone here to provide it to you. And really, it should be given to you by the election committee. And they're at work during the day. I can't have my hands and fingers on a ballot box, so I don't feel comfortable giving it to you. That's why, if you're a delegate, you need to have delegates there representing your building on Wednesday night to make sure they're trained and to make sure that they have the ballot box. I do not feel comfortable distributing ballot boxes. My hand should not be on them. Neither should any other officer. So please, delegates, I need you to step up. I know you always do. Please be down at the office. Please be at the delegate assembly meeting on Wednesday at Leneve's at 4:30. Let's talk about one final thing, and this is a little bit different. I spoke with Charles Wilson III. He is the chair of the elections committee before I sent this video, and we are in lockstep that this is the process that needs to play out. So the NJEA is having great difficulties, as many of you already know, with their membership system. The NJEA is blaming the school district's blaming the NJEA. I tend to believe it's a little bit of both right now. And as we distributed those one-page documents, we were able to see, for some reason, the NJEA is claiming in a short list of folks that there are people who are paying dues. They're dues-paying members. We know them. I know a few that I've called personally. They're probably watching this video now. And the NJEA is saying, hey, they're retired. Well, we know they're not retired. They're working. They're in school. I hear kids in the background when we call their school buildings. Number two, they're saying that these folks have dropped union membership. Now, I know. I've spoken to them. I see them. They're delegates. They're at meetings. They've never sent letters saying that they've dropped union membership. So there are some things going on that we are dealing with membership. But here's where we think the simple solution is temporarily, until we can have a meeting with the NJEA. One thing that has remained constant is that everyone in all the categories I'm talking about, their checks are still having dues taken out. So what the election committee has decided, and I've spoken to the chair, so I'm not speaking out of turn here, is that in order to be eligible to vote on the day of, so Thursday morning when you walk into the school and you see a ballot box either in the front of the building or wherever they decide to put it in each respective school based on the rules that will be explained to you by the committee at the meeting on Wednesday night, you're going to need to have from the school's computer a printed out paycheck. All right, you can block out all your, we don't want to see what you're making. We don't want to know all that stuff. That's not our business. But the only thing we want to see is our PEA dues coming out on 3/15/2023. So you go into Edumet, you print out your check, right? Fold it up nice, put it in an envelope, get it out of the way early, and put that envelope in your desk, locked up, or in a purse, in a wallet, so that when the time comes to vote, you pull it out. again, you can retract all the personal information. We don't want to know where you live. We don't want to know how much you go home with, right? Even though it's public information, we could all figure that out for each other. We just want to be able to see highlighted PEA dues. It's going to say PEA dues, and then it's going to have the dollar amount. That means you're a member. Forget about what's in any system. Forget about what's in any computer, right? If your check shows that your dues were coming out on 3/15, bingo. You're a member. You're going to get a ballot to vote on the contract. And from there, you're good to go. If PEA dues are not coming out, I suspect the election committee will have a process in place, and they'll explain that to everyone. Likely they're going to have you go in as a challenge, but that's going to be more information forthcoming from the election committee. So that's my little 10-minute video today. I know it's longer than I would have liked this to be, but we need to make sure everyone's on the same page. We're going to upload this to our Facebook page. We're going to upload this to our YouTube so we can send it out to our members through email. If you have any questions about the ballots, those will be directed not to me because I am not on the election committee. I cannot serve there. You're going to have to ask that question. Bring those questions on Wednesday night at 4:30 when they're training you, the election committee, at the delegate meeting. You can ask any question you want. The only thing I'm here to talk about is the map of events coming up next week, which we've just touched upon, as well as how you can receive a ballot in your school building to vote for the contract. If you have any issues, if you have any concerns, please direct them to the election committee chair, Charles Wilson III. He will gladly assist you with whatever issues you're dealing with. I hope that you all have a tremendous St. Patrick's Day. You have the corned beef, cabbage, Irish soda bread out. Have a Guinness for me this year, and I will see you all very soon.